also thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Sydney, for this opportunity. So, today I got the chance to kind of share one of my niches with everybody about short-term rental and especially tiny house, right? I kind of stumbled upon this. I bought a house with a shed on the back. And then, I keep looking at it. It didn't make any money. And I was like, hey, why don't we turn it into something that, income producing for us to pay the mortgage instead of, having just sit there and storing junk, right? So that's how the journey started. Just some disclosure, these are just, let me see if I can read this. Success, result upon your successful self-effort, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistent, competent, and leadership, right? Your success will depend upon how well you exercise this quality. So, kind of look at, the number that I share as a guideline, as a good example. But yeah, your success is going to be dependent, solely upon you. And that's the thing I love the most, about salesmanship, right? About being an entrepreneur. We in the business for ourselves. But yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I actually have a degree in computer science, believe it or not. So I keep telling everybody in my team, if I can do this, anybody can, right? Graduated from UH. I actually have a job at UH. I fix computer at UH, and then eventually moving on, to work for Hewlett Packard for like a year or two, and then I ended my corporate career, if you will, at Schlumberger, actually in Houston, Texas. So I spent a good 5 years there. No regret. It's actually I actually learned a lot on how to work with people. Yep. Hi, Joe. I learned a lot on how to work with people. I'm doing good. Excited for today. So thanks for coming in, Joe. But yeah, ended my career at Schlumberger 5 years ago. Learned a lot. They provide you this, income with stable income with W-2, right? So kind of leverage that to into real estate investing, right? Leverage that income to buy rental house, to buy income producing property. So that's when I started, 2012 to start investing in property, and yeah, so I kind of want to bring a different perspective to real estate agent. I know that most of us, we get our license to buy and sell house for other agents, right? I mean, for other people. I want to kind of change that perspective a little bit. I want you to think that, you're going to be your best real estate agent, right? So you're going to be your best client first before anybody else. Because, why help other people build wealth, which is good, right? But you have to think about like, hey, why don't you try to leverage your license to create work for yourself first, and then when you actually know how to do that, and then you can go and help other people. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I don't start out as a real estate agent, if you will. I got the license to buy a house for myself first. So it's just a different perspective into becoming a real estate agent. Long story short, quit Schlumberger, end up ran into Jeff, ran to Amanda, been at this wonderful company called eXp Realty, 3 times Icon agent. If you don't know what Icon agent is, just know that we sell a lot of houses, right? In order to be qualified for Icon, it's just a lot of houses that you have to sell. But yeah, we won't talk about production today, so let's roll back a little bit about short-term rental. In 2017, I have a bedroom. I have a 3-bedroom house. It's just me, my wife, and my and the dog. We have a 3-bedroom, and we just only use 1 room. So I end up renting out an extra room for $30 a night, right? It's just $30, but you're gonna be amazed. $30, you get 2 nights, $60. I pay for your internet bill, and then all of a sudden you get $200-300, sometimes $600 a month coming in. And back then, the house price too cheap, right? $600, almost cover your mortgage. And then it just kind of sparked my interest, like, hey, why don't we do this more? We can rent out 1 room. What about another room? What about a house? And kind of get started, down this rabbit hole of short-term rental. So yeah, fast forward again, now it's 2022. We have 4 short-term rental total on the platform called Airbnb, which is most of you know, and then we got 2 more coming on this year, right? And I kind of want to use these classes, to give you a peek about our brokerage. So for more classes, you can go to a website called expcloud.com. We have classes like this every single week, for the agent to train, right? And what's cool is that, once you become an icon agent or when you become a certified instructor, you get to teach the classes back to the community, right? To kind of helping your fellow agent and learn from another. I don't go too much into this presentation, but yeah, if you're looking for more training, the one like this or some other topic, just hop onto expcloud.com and kind of explore what class that you want to see. If you don't have a guest pass, let me know. The person who invited you here can give you a guest pass, or you can just let me know. I can go ahead and give you the guest pass so that you can come in and kind of experience, the campus, the metaverse that we have over here that really propel everybody productivity. I'm going to share one more tidbit. If you want to get started in this niche, investment property, instead of, being a typical, real estate agent, the book that I would, one of the book that not a lot of people read, it's not on the mainstream, but it's really good. That kind of helped me out. It's called Be in the Top 1%. I have a URL here. Later on, you can text me. I can give you a copy of the book. But you can just go to Amazon. It's called Be in the Top 1% by Bob Kemp. It's an amazing book if you want to get started in investing in real estate by leveraging your license. So it's very specific. But I read the book, and the book just kind of propelled me into a different path of real estate investing. Yeah. So before we kind of get into the short-term rental and the ADU, right? I just want to back it up a little bit and kind of show you, how to buy, how to invest in the property using the right way, or one of my favorite way, right? Because if you think about it, short-term rental and tiny houses, it's just a piece of the equation. It's just the rent part, right? It's just how you exit the deal. But in order for an investment property to be, a good one, you need to learn how to buy it. You need to learn how to rehab it correctly. You need to learn how to lease it out, which is renting, and you need to learn how to repeat the process, for you, for your family, for your client, for your friend, right? So today we're going to focus on, the second R, if you will, which is the renting piece. But, keep in mind that this is the whole process, and it starts with buying the house correctly. This is one of the example that I use in my other presentation. So you're not going to go out there and look for $1 million houses, right? Or houses that need no work. You need to look for houses that have that need a lot of repair. The more work there is, the more juicy the deal is. This is when you can come in, you can buy the house for below market, sometimes way below market, like this one. We got it for $100,000. You can force the equity by repairing it, and then after you force the equity by repairing it, and then you go to a bank, and then the bank is going to appraise it higher. Hopefully, if you do your number correctly, the bank is going to appraise it, higher than what you put into, right? So I'm going to round up the number, I'm going to round up the number so that way everybody can follow. So the picture that I just show you, I actually got this from the MLS for 105. For 100,000 and for $105,000, right? So just directly from the MLS, there's, you can go for wholesaler, you can go for tax auction, but if you have your license, if you know how to set up like a good search on the MLS, look at the MLS. Trust me, deal are still there on the MLS. You just need to filter your search, to look at this kind of distressed deal, every day, instead of, like $1 million house in town, like in Houston, for example. You won't find anything there, right? But if you look in some area that need, despair, you're gonna find deal. So everybody here is a realtor or is in the process of becoming a realtor. You know how to run comp. If you run comp, let's say the ARV is 210, the rent is 1,500. No HOA and low tax, really important. I'm gonna reel down into that piece. I'm gonna reel down into this piece in a little bit. And then the rehab costs $100,000 to rehab this house. So all in is $200,000, right? And the rent is $1,500 a month. And then here's the magic, right? So when you go to the bank is going to refinance. The bank is going to send out the appraiser. And if you, if you be frank with the appraiser, if you be nice to him, if you buy him coffee, if you run your number correctly, they're going to give you the ARV that you want, right? So if you, so the ARV is 275 in this case. I make a mistake over here. It should be 275, right? Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. Yeah, the ARV on this particular example turned out to be 275. So you take 75% of that. You take 75% of that, and the bank will, it's gonna say, hey, since the house worth 275K, I'm gonna lend you 75% of that, which is $205,000. The PITI is gonna be 1,300. So if you look at the number, right, the bank give me 205, and then I'm all in. I'm in the deal for 205. So essentially, after the closing, I have zero money left in the deal, right? So this is one of the ideal way to burr is to have an infinite return once you have no money in the deal. Anything the house generate from the cash flow is just the gravy on top. Yeah, right. Net operating income, we're gonna talk about this a little bit. Once you put the house on Airbnb, or even in this example, just one room in the house, that should generate you $1,500 a month minus the mortgage, which is $1,300. You're gonna cash flow, $200 a month, not including the ADU that we're gonna talk about. So that's $2,400 a year. It's not much, $2,400 a year won't change your life. You're gonna blow it in, maybe one night or one vacation. But hey, look at the tax deduction. The tax deduction when you own a piece of real estate is huge, right? And then think about, somebody else actually paying off your mortgage, right? This is huge. This is how you build equity. I keep telling everybody, there's two parts of the equation, right? The cash flow is going to make you look rich, but the equity is going to make you wealthy. So, if you want to become, I guess, advance in your financial life, not only look at the cash flow, but learn how to build equity. And the best way to build equity is to invest in real estate and have a setup in a way that, some other people is willing to pay for your property. And that's how you build equity in real estate. But yeah, this is a very short, very simple version of BRRRR. This is how we invest in real estate using no money down. This is going to be a foundation on everything else you do, right? Think about this on a bigger scale. When it goes to commercial real estate, when it goes to some other bigger deal, if you can just apply the same principle, the sky is the limit for you. And then if you have zero money in the deal, you can just get your capital out, and then you can just keep repeat it for you, for your client, for your family, for everybody, right? Yeah. So for today, we're just gonna focus on the rent, which is the exit part of the BRRRR process, right? The house doesn't pay rent. The tenant actually pay you the rent. Yeah. So why short-term rental? So if you want to open up your mic, if you can tell me some of the benefits, why we choose to exit the house using short-term rental instead of a long-term. I'm gonna use a moment to take a sip of water.
I have heard like people who may be looking at a house and let's say they can rent it for, I don't know, $1,500 a month, and it just didn't make as much sense or it wasn't so exciting. I've heard that they could turn around and do short-term rental and almost double their money, like the return on everything. Huge.
You're right. So you're right there, Amanda. So the return is going to be a lot higher. And to be frankly, how many of you stay at an Airbnb for the past 2 weeks, right? We stay at, a lot of people, we go to Orlando for our EXPCon. A lot of us, elected to stay at an Airbnb for a reason. And, this past holiday on July 4th, I'm pretty sure that somebody in this group, must have stayed at an Airbnb or short-term rental, right? So the demand is there, right? People, the nature for people is to travel, right? And these are some of the benefits of short-term rental. Number one, you have control over the property, right? Once you lease it to a long-term tenant, you're not going to be able to come in and, like, hey, let me look around, let me take a look at my house and make sure everything's okay. You cannot do that for a long-term for a long-term tenant. But for a short-term tenant, sometimes there's a period between a check-in and a check-out. You can come in, you can inspect the property, make sure it's in tip-top shape. So your property will be always in tip-top shape, right? And that will leave you with the ability to sell anytime that you want to. You don't have to wait for the lease to expire. You can sell your property anytime. And like Amanda said, you can rent for higher per square foot, higher earning, and of course appreciation, right? Same thing with long-term rental. Once you invest in real estate, you're going to have the benefit of appreciation, tax deduction, and also this is the thing I love, the pricing dynamic, right? If y'all follow soccer, y'all will know that, Houston, we're going to be hosting the World Cup in 2026, right? What would you think about, what would you think about a short-term rental market, during that time when we host the soccer World Cup, right? The rent is going to go to the roof, and it's not like I got stuck in a long-term contract. I can adjust my price daily, like literally daily. I can just go to Airbnb right now and I can jack up all my price in that particular period, depending on the event that is happening. So the pricing dynamic is one of the things I love the most about short-term rental, right? And of course, we talk about the property is always in tip-top shape. Your house is going to be in tip-top condition, right? Tax benefit, tax deduction, pretty much all the benefits of real estate investment. And that kind of brings me to the last point. It's called a rental arbitrage. So a lot of people, they ask me about like, hey, should you rent an apartment and then you would, sublease that back into Airbnb? Yes and no. If you do that, yes, you might generate a lot of income. It's very low capital. You don't have to have a lot of capital to start. It's easier. But keep in mind that if you do rental arbitrage, it's not considered real estate investment, right? You don't own the property. So essentially, you're going to do all the work out, and then that particular landlord, they are the one who get all the sick pay. They are the one who going to get the appreciation. They are going to be the one who get all the tax benefits. So why do that, right? Unless you treat it like a job, right? It could be a good job. I know a lot of good property manager or investor that actually treat it like a job, like a property management job. And then if you want to treat it like a job, that will be a perfectly good job. But keep in mind, I want to make this point really clear because, people, sometimes they tend to have, like shortcut in life. And I can tell you that, rental arbitrage, it's not going to be a shortcut to real estate investment, right? It's not investment if you don't own the property. So keep that in mind. So why not short-term rental, right? So one of the skill I believe is that, we always have to look at the issue or the equation from both sides of the equation. There's a pros to short-term rental, and there's a cons to short-term rental as well. So let's look at, can anybody tell me what is one of the cons about short-term rental that would prevent you from investing in short-term rental?
I'd say probably the instability of knowing what the consistency of your rentals is going to be.
Man, you hit it right on the nail, man. And actually, during COVID, right? So I'm gonna jump right ahead to this point over here. It's called inconsistent cash flow. When the pandemic just hit, my heart just dropped to the bottom. Like when I see all the cancellation, the moment they announced the lockdown, all my revenue for that entire year, I lose it, in like a couple of hours, thousands and thousands of dollars. Once they announced the lockdown for the pandemic, I lose thousands and thousands of dollars in a matter of hours or within seconds, right? There's so many cancellations. My phone just blew up. That was like the worst day of 2020 for me. But eventually, it people booked that back up, right? They always have a need for short term. But yeah, you're exactly right. So that there's actually a lot of cons to short term rental. One of the big things is the law and regulation is constantly changing. So if you like City of Houston, for example, right? They don't even have a law or permit for short term rental yet. They kind of keep it. They kind of close their eyes because we pay them a lot of occupancy tax. City of Houston kind of close their eyes right now. You know, the law and regulation surrounding short-term rentals constantly changing. I have one of the friend, you know, that have an Airbnb in an HOA area. And then long story short, you know, all the owners get together and they vote to stop short-term rental in that particular area. And then that's it, right? That $5,000 that you have every month, all of a sudden it's gone because the HOA, they changed the rule. So when you invest in short-term rental, kind of pay very close attention right now to all the law and the regulation. This is still new to all the lawmaker. You know, trust me, 5 years ago, when I get sued, when one of my neighbors sued me, I call a lawyer and he asked me, what is an Airbnb, right? So that's how new this industry is. So you have to constantly pay attention to the law and regulation when you do short-term rental. Management could be an issue too, right? This is not a long-term tenant. This is the guest. You have checked in, you have checked out. You have so many moving parts. So expecting that, you know, you're gonna be glued to your phone a little more than you have to, you know, just kind of keep an eye on the guests if they need anything, you know, if you do like hand-on management, right? So it's gonna be involving management is gonna be quite a lot more, right? Increased competition. You know, it's very easy. Airbnb make it super easy for a grandma that have a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom bed to kind of, you know, like, hey, you know, bedroom, right? I have a bedroom. I'm gonna take a couple pictures and then they're gonna throw it on Airbnb, right? They make the process super easy. Anybody can hop onto it. So expecting, you know, as this thing getting more popular, you know, you're gonna have a lot of, you know, competition, right? If you're gonna hand it off to a manager, the management is not going to be, you know, a typical 5-10% management fee for a long term, right? It's going to be 20-30%, you know, management fee, because there's going to be a lot more involved. There's going to be cleaning, there's going to be check-in, there's going to be guest relation, and of course, inconsistent cash flow that you just mentioned. We talk about subject to the external factor already, the pandemic, you know, just, you know, kind of like shock the system a little bit. And yeah, and the neighbor, right? This is the big thing, people, they don't pay attention. Actually, the neighbor is if you have a not so nice neighbor, they're gonna drive you nuts. So whenever you buy a short-term rental, kind of be aware of your surrounding, right? Who's the neighbor? Are they friendly? Are they a Karen? You don't want to buy you don't want to buy next to a Karen. Trust me, they're gonna drive you crazy. So kind of pay attention to all these things that, you know, there's so many moving parts. And then I put down, you know, Honey, please get the trash, because trash is actually one of the biggest problem right now for short-term rental, because, you know, although you remind the trash, you know, or you have a system for people to pick up trash, sometimes the trash get missed, and guess who's the one who want to go clean it up? You, right? Me. So keep an eye on it. You know, right now, I thought I'm the only one who have the problem, but when I talk with all the short-term rental manager and all the guys who run Airbnb, they telling me that, you know, like, hey, you gonna be the one who want to clean it up if nobody else is picking up, right? So you gotta keep that in mind. It's not so, you know, glamorous as you can see. Yeah, so let's moving forward into, you know, the buying checklist. So this is a checklist that I kind of use to kind of, you know, to kind of look at, you know, the deal, if you will. So feel free to take a copy of the slideshow, or later on, you know, we can send everybody a copy. So kind of look at the attraction, right? You know, what attract you to this particular area? Is there any tourism? You know, why people go here? You know, so do some homework on the location. Houston is have to be the 4th largest city in the United States. There's always going to be some activity here, so you don't have to worry about having a traffic in city of Houston or any big city. Literally, big city, they organically will have traffic for you. But if you're gonna go to like a smaller town, kind of keep that in mind, right? What draw people to that smaller town? You know, if there's nothing there, then maybe you're not going to have a lot of traffic. Right? Traffic in the end is going to be how you drive your business. Accessibility, is it easy to get to? Is it in the wood? You know, does it, you know, can you get there by car? Right? So all that kind of factor come into when on the buying checklist, right? I want the house to be as easy to get to, you know, and I need to make sure that, you know, the check-in instruction is going to be clear. The guest can actually get into the house, right? what type of amenity, do you have a pool? Do you have a hot pool? Do you have a king bed? Do you have like a crib for the infant? So think about, like when you go visit a friend or when you go see, in a hotel room, what kind of amenity you have all around that area, right? To support your guests, kind of keep that in mind, and that kind of tied to the location. If you can buy a house in a good location, it doesn't matter what and everything else will take care of yourself, right? If you have a good location, kind of pay attention to the vibe as well. When I go there, I always kind of feel the energy, like, hey, what does the surrounding look like? Does it look like, places where people are going to come here and relax and spend time with their friend and family? There's no formula for that. This is just experience, I guess, or this is much more like, if you have to feel it on the video, feel that. Me, I actually, whenever I buy something, you have option period, right? Go there and feel the area to see if it's right for you, for a guest, right? The neighborhood, we talk about it. Local law and regulation, we talk about that. Oh, this is a big thing, and I actually bought it. Uniqueness is what you're looking for, right? If you're renting a room with a bed with 4 walls in it, and then you're going to be subject to competition, right? It's going to be a commodity, right? A mom next door can put up her Airbnb, and now you have to compete with her on the pricing. But if you have something really unique, so let's say a tiny house with a unique design, it's either really chic, really cozy, or it has a Japanese theme on it, and then this is going to be your only and this is going to be your only wabi sabi. We're going to see it later. It's going to be your only tiny house in the entire Houston, right? So it doesn't matter what is the mom or the grandma next door adjust the price. Your price is always going to be this much, because this is what people want, right? They want to come here not to sleep, but also to experience your experience your stay, right? So think about Starbucks. Right, Starbucks doesn't sell coffee. If you noticed that already, Starbucks does not sell coffee. Starbucks sell the experience when you go buy the coffee, and that experience is the same and consistent everywhere when you travel around the world. So Starbucks is selling the experience. Keep that in mind. You need to sell the experience as well, not just the back and forward. Yeah. Cash on cash return. Of course, we look at that. Cash on cash return is going to be, whatever number you're comfortable with, 10%, 15%, 6%, kind of run your number before you buy any deal, right? Just like any investment area. But yeah, maximum amount of bet, the more bet you are, the more cash flow you can get. I'm not sure why I put furnishing here. We do all our furnishing on Fairway. You can set up a commercial account with them. They ship all your furniture, to your house. So they're going to save you a lot of time when you fix it up, right? So let's take a look at this house, right? I think I pull up the checklist here. Oops, I don't have a checklist here. Okay, so kind of go back to this checklist, and then a lot of it is going to apply here, right? So this is one of the property that I actually was able to pick up last year, right? So location, Woodland, Conroe, Montgomery, Magnolia, so many wedding venue around, this particular house. So when I look at it, I knew that, the location is going to work, because people, I know my clientele, they will go here for the wedding. They will go here for the concert. It's so close to Conroe and Magnolia, and for the lake as well, right? So the location kind of checked out. The vibe kind of checked out, the house kind of checked out. So kind of go back to this list. I just go back and check. I go talk with the neighbor. The neighbor is so nice, so that check as well. It's so unique. It sits on a 5-acre of wooded lot, and appreciating. I didn't think too much about appreciating when I bought it, but hey, if you can find anything around Houston, I mean, yeah, in Houston in general for 5-acre for 235, you can be pretty sure that it can be appreciating later on, right? Lab kitchen, see, this is what I'm looking for. A lot of space to entertain. So I look at the description and I was like, man, I would love to live in this house, if I go for vacation or retreat. The listing agent actually put a really good description here. It's just everything I look for, right? So we bought it. Should I go for this? And then we kind of turn it to, an Airbnb, right? But let me just quickly go over the management checklist to see how, after you bought it, what do you do, right? So you bought it, this one, we bought it with cash because, you know, it's a mobile home. So mobile home, you can't really finance it. You have to buy it with cash, but we won't talk about the financing piece here. So we buy it. And then a lot of people, they advise you to, you know, to go with multiple platforms. I actually like to stick with Airbnb. This is where you get the most amounts of quality guests, right? The people that come, they have a review, they are already reviewed by other guests. And, you know, Airbnb, the thing I like about it, you know, just like EXP, just like your brokerage, it's actually a community. You know, it's not a platform, you know, this is a community of people, right? That want to experience something new when they travel. So you always gonna have your quality of guests is always gonna be higher on Airbnb versus any other platform, right? This is getting technical here, but I use Hospitable to automate all the guest check-in and check-out. Right? Make sure you get your housekeeping checked. You know, who's going to clean it? Is it going to be your cleaner? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be your wife? You need to get this thing checked out because this is the one who's going to get. This is the task that is most time intensive, you know, in a short-term rental. Right? Who's going to do the supply? Kind of think about, you know, just like in your real estate business, right? You don't want to become, you know, everybody realtor, right? You have a specific clientele in mind. You have to figure that out, right? Who's going to come here? You know, who's going to work with you? Who's going to come to this house? You know, what do they do? What do they do when they get to the area? So think about that because it's going to help you write a really good listing description to specifically target, you know, this audience. And if you can just do that instead of targeting everybody else, trust me, you know, your SEO is going to go up. You know, your SEO is going to go up, which resulted in a lot more booking. And you know, you will enjoy hosting more instead of, you know, just hosting it for everybody, right? So if you have anything cool, king bed, horseback pool, make sure to put that in the description. Pricing strategy is another chapter. You know, you can Google that. I can just talk briefly about it. You can just look at your competition, right? That's the easiest one to run comp. You know, just be a guest, go to that area, just look at all the Airbnb similar to yours and see how much people is renting for. What kind of stuff do they have? Right? If you knew, lower your price so that way you can get more. You can get more booking in the beginning to get those reviews, right? The review is so important. So make sure your first few review is going to be good, right? Automation. There's a bunch of smart lock that you can use to automate the guest check-in. You don't have to go there and give people the key. You know, they can just check themselves in. The thermostat you can control, the camera you can control. You know, kind of find the right balance, right? You don't want to put the camera in the bedroom, you know, or even in the house, right? It's kind of weird. So find the right balance, just camera outside of the house. And then, you know, that way, you know, give the guest some privacy as well. You know, if you just, you know, if you just arm up to the teeth and then nobody's going to book your Airbnb, right? Yeah, first impression. And, you know, as a host, you know, just have a big smile, right? Funny, the reason I put it in there because I get one of the review, you know, like one of my Airbnb is actually on the backyard of my house. And one of the guests just reviews like, hey, you know, I say hi to my mom, but she never smiled back at me. She actually gave me a 4-star because my mom didn't smile back at her when she checked out. And man, I have to tell my mom, like, hey, mom, whenever I see you see anybody check in or check out, make sure you smile, right? So it's that simple, right? It's actually cost me a 5-star review, a big smile, right? Not for me, but for my mom. So I have to tell my mom to smile whenever she see the guest. But yeah, so I kind of use this checklist here, you know, to spin up this Airbnb. You know, we use Wayfair to furnish the house. Later on, I can give you the address of my booking, so you can kind of come and see what do they do. What do I do? I put in good description. You know, everybody here is a listing agent. We know how to write a good listing description, right? Same exact thing when you list a house on HAR. Professional photo, good description, list out all the amenity. You know, I learned this from another operator. You know, I actually put a map of my Airbnb and then all the amenity around it, right? Oh, this is actually the Airbnb, and then all the amenity around it, you know, just to give people that is not familiar with Houston to see to see what kind of Houston landscape is. So yeah, so kind of follow this checklist and then spin up your first Airbnb and then go at it, right? Yeah, this is actually my real number in December. You can tell it's December because the electricity is only $80, right? I saw Jeff post the other day and his electricity is $600. Yep, we get pretty hot in Houston. Yeah, so kind of keep an eye on your Airbnb thermostat, and like I told you, have like a Nest or have a smart thermostat. It's going to help a lot. Trust me. Yeah, to keep the electricity down. But yeah, we gross about, this is December, nobody go to the lake for December. So we gross, this is actually our lowest month. We gross only $4,500 on the lowest month. Cleaning expense, yada, yada, yada. And then you still net, right? This is not my gross. And then you still net about $3,000 per month, just on a couple weekends, right? If you go back and you see how much we bought it for, I mean, you don't have to do the number, but if you bought the house for this much, and then your income is almost $3,000, it's way more than the 1% rule. You know that your cash flow is going to be really good without doing any calculation. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So moving on, to the second part of the seminar, the Zoom, if you will. Well, first of all, let me take a stop here. Does anybody have any question? Am I losing anybody?
Hey, Huy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
They said that they are going to stop letting people rent Airbnbs for parties.
Oh, yeah.
Is that going to affect you, or how would you market?
No, Jeff, I love that. I never like party. What I mean is open party, right? Let's say you book let's say you book my Airbnb, and then you're gonna create an event tribe, and it's just like, hey, everybody come into my party, right? So that's called a party. So I actually, against that. I don't think that you should not do an open party for, especially when you book an Airbnb. There's a lot of live. Yeah. And then just like anything, right? I'm not going to micromanage you and see what exactly you do in my house. Man, just keep the house clean. If the house is clean, if it doesn't smell any weed, you're going to have a good review, right? If my cleaner have to spend extra time to clean it, if people smoke weed in it, and then of course, as a host, we have to pass the charge to the guests, and we're going to give them a bad review, right? And it works two way, right? If the host have a bad review, and then it's going to be very hard for us, to rent out to the next guest. If the guests have a bad review, or take it one, right? One or two review, and then that's it. There's no host. I guarantee you, there's going to be no host that want to lease to that guest, and you kind of have to start over, right? And then the moment you start over, you have a blank review, and then you cannot instant book the house anymore. You have to kind of beg people, like, hey, please, can I lease your house, because I'm brand new. And when I look at we haven't talked about guest management, but when I look at a guest profile that is brand new, that just created, I knew that I need to screen the guests a lot more. So, it's just if you want to rent like a good Airbnb, a lot of the time, they don't even take guests that have no review, right? Because it's a big risk for them. Yeah, so it's worked both ways. I absolutely love the review system on Airbnb, and that's why I recommend people to stick on Airbnb. Because on other platform, their review system is not so good. Yep. But yeah, moving on to ADU. I know I'm throwing a lot of term here. It's called why ADU for STR. So it stands for accessory dwelling unit. So think of it like a tiny house, right? Or think of it simple. This is a shed that you can buy at Home Depot or go to Craigslist and get people to go to your house and build up for you for $6,000-7,000, and there you are, right? You have an ADU, right? You need to learn how to connect the electricity, the plumbing, the water. You need to learn how to run them to it. But yeah, it's basically a house in your lot. So Why ADU? Because of housing affordability, right? If you're gonna see how expensive real estate is becoming, it's gonna a lot of people, they get priced out of real estate, and one way to combat that is to simplifying your lifestyle. Instead of having a mansion, just moving to a smaller home, well built, to lower your cost, right? Experience, it's actually really cool to experience small space that is really well built. It's going to give you one of the, not the mansion's life of experience, but a really cool and unique experience to see, hey, I can actually be very efficient. I can function over here on only 200 square feet, with a bedroom, a living room, a kitchen. So people, they like to experience that, right? And then one thing about, it kind of tie into the housing affordability is, it's very cost effective to build, right? I know that, some people, they kind of take advantage of this movement and they charge people like 100 grand, 200 grand for the tiny house. But if the actually cost to build it, it's actually not that expensive, right? It's a shed, and then, you connect your plumbing, electrical, everything is small, so it's going to cost a lot less to build, versus a fully built house. Easy to clean for your cleaner too. So if you run Airbnb, your cleaner is going to love you, right? That one unit is going to be so much easier to clean, versus a big house. Fairly easy to construct, like I told you, Home Depot, Craigslist.com is your friend. Go there, find a good builder, and then they're going to construct you a shed. Uniqueness, we talked about uniqueness earlier. Your house is going to be, the one and only kind, right? Every tiny house that I see, we look over 100 tiny houses and none of them is the same. So the uniqueness is what going to boost your traffic on STR, on Airbnb. Yeah, movability, you can actually move this thing around as well. So there's a lot of company, they actually moving shed, right? So, or if you can actually build, with a frame, with a wheel, you can actually move them around too. And later on, I'm going to show you some example, right? The cash on cash return, we can talk about it. It's going to absolutely go to the roof. And then scalability, first of all, I think that you can't really scale with a tiny house, but when you look at, a site like getaway.house, you're going to see how they scale tiny house. I mean, it's just amazing, right? So if you don't know, if you want to experience tiny house, go to getaway.house, and then, just book a booking window, go there and see the whole operation to see how they can actually scale tiny house into $1 billion business. It's just amazing. But yeah. So what did I put here? Yeah. So come back to the original example. I don't know if you remember my original example when I say 1,500 a month, it's actually not a house. It's just a room on the top of my house. It's called the attic. I rent the attic out for $60 a day, right? And then it generate income. Let's see how we're doing on time over here. I might have to skip to this real quick. But yeah, this is our shed. Of course, my wife took all the credit for building it. I suck at design, but luckily I got my roommate here. She's pretty amazing at putting stuff together. So she put up together. Put some bamboo tree in here. This is the view that I love the most. When September and October kind of come in. But yeah, we call that the Wabi Shabi, and this is one of the most popular tiny house in Houston, I would say. Knock on wood right now, right? Because I can see the traffic, and yeah, people just love it. They let's take a look at the number, right? Not only it looked nice, it cost us almost 40 grand to build it, but it's kind of piggyback, right? It's kind of piggyback on the main house. And again, right, check with the local law and regulation, make sure that you can do that. But this house, it costs only 40,000 to build, and it's piggyback on the big house, right? On the house that we bought out. And all of a sudden, you're gonna see that, they're gonna share a lot of the utility. So your cost is gonna go down. Your utility cost is gonna go down. Your supply run is gonna be short, and you're not gonna have a lot of expense on a tiny house. So I estimated. On the monthly total, the number is so small, I don't even pay attention to the utility and supply. Monthly total, about $150. It generates about $1,400 a month. So total, almost 17,000 a year, right? And if you do the cash on cash return, that's a whooping 45% return. I mean, how good can it get, right? Where else on earth can you get a return for 45%? So you basically make your money back within like 2-3 years. You make the $40,000 back, right? So and then if you remember my first slide, this is sit on the back of my house, which I already pulled the capital out, and the big house with the attic on the top, they already pay for the mortgage, right? So so the attic, is already paid for the mortgage, and I cash flow on the main house $200 a month after all the expense and all the mortgage. This thing is just a cherry on top, and together it's 20 grand a year, right? So you printed 20 grand a year out in there, and I guess that kind of and my presentation, kind of put the cherry on top on how to use Airbnb and tiny house or accessory dwelling unit to supercharge your investment, right? I just bought this one. We haven't do anything to it yet, but you can kind of see, you can actually buy this thing on Marketplace. I actually bought this one on Facebook Marketplace. We haven't done anything to it yet. It's just sitting on one of my house backyard right now, and we build a deck around it. So we're gonna see how can we spin this off and put it on an Airbnb platform and generating cash flow from it. But yeah, we have a couple minutes. I guess we can entertain some questions. You can follow me on Instagram, the Cash Flow Agent, and I actually make this. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but if you want to try, you can text ADU to the smart number that I have over here, and then that way I can automatically send you a copy of the presentation. Cool. That's it.
That's good stuff.
What number do we text ADU to?
Oh, you can text ADU to 281-843-5491. Or you can just follow me on Instagram. I put a lot of stuff on Instagram. My handle is a Cash Flow Agent. And just message me on Instagram, either me or one of my assistants. We can email you back a copy of the presentation.
This is amazing. So let's say someone found a great Airbnb. Would you be open to looking at it with them and telling them if you think it's a good investment or not?
Yeah, for sure. They can kind of follow my checklist. Let me go back here. I start to implement checklists for everything. So hopefully I can, make the checklist more robust. But for sure, let me know. The key thing is to figure out the local law and regulation. And this is going to require some digging. I don't recommend you to just do it and then waiting for get caught, right? You have to do it the right way. So kind of dig into the HOA, call them, kind of go to your city, look up the deed, look at the deed restriction. If you don't know how to read it, pay a lawyer to read it. Make sure the deed allow you to run, short-term rental. And it could be tricky. The language in there, sometimes it's in the gray area. And then, you just have to make a decision like, hey, it doesn't tell me that I can do it, but it doesn't tell me I cannot do it either. So should I do it? Well, up to you, right?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Huy, for doing this. And we'll make sure everybody has your contact info. And we're really excited to hopefully start having an extra stream of income with this.
Yeah. Thank you for everybody. And but yeah, we have this recorded, right? So hopefully we can get it up on your YouTube channel and kind of help everybody to get started, with the short-term rental.
Absolutely. We'll share it with everyone. Thank you, Huy. Talk to y'all soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Huy.